Fantastic. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming to tonight's Licensing Casework Subcommittee meeting. I'm Councillor Jupp. I'll be chairing tonight's hearing, and I just want to ask my colleagues to introduce themselves.
So I'm Councillor Simon Orsini. I'm on the panel tonight.
I'm Councillor Ian Yateman.
Fantastic. And now the officers from this side of the room.
I'm Katie Thorpe, Supervising Senior Licensing Officer.
I'm John Ali, Licensing Compliance Officer.
Aswa Khan, Committee Member Service Officer.
I'm Alison Daly and I'm a solicitor for the council.
Hi, I'm Tanaka Meros. I'm a solicitor for the council and I'm the one advising the committee this evening.
Thank you all, and could I ask you to introduce yourselves too, please?
I'm Jason McNeil, I'm the Director of Novaco.
I'm Theo Carew, I am the Festival Manager, and we have two colleagues behind us as well from Security and Traffic.
Thank you very much. In that case, I'd like to invite the Licensing Officer to present the case.
Thank you, Chair. This Licensing Subcommittee hearing is convened to determine an application submitted by Novaco UK Limited for a new premises licence in respect of Cutslow Park, Oxford. The applicant seeks to hold a 3-day annual event, Campfire Country, Beatmasters and We Love It Festival at Cutslow Park, which will provide the sale of alcohol, live music, recorded music, performance of dance and entertainment similar to music or dance on Friday to Sunday from 1200 hours to 2200 hours each day. The proposed dates for this year's event are the 22nd of August to the 24th of August. A copy of the application and the steps that the applicant intends to take to promote the licensing objectives and the event management plan can be found at Appendix 1. During the consultation period, the applicant agreed conditions with Thames Valley Police. A copy of those agreed conditions can be found at Appendix 2. There were no representations made from responsible authorities. The application has received representations from 4 interested parties, which can be found at Appendix 3. All of the representations highlight concerns in relation to how the application may fail to promote the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance and public safety. The subcommittee and all other parties at this hearing will note that a map detailing the applicant's premises and the surrounding area is attached at Appendix 4. The subcommittee is reminded of its responsibilities under the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 and the Human Rights Act when considering the fair balance between the interests of the applicant and the rights of the local residents. Any decision taken by the subcommittee must be necessary and proportionate to the objectives being pursued. Members are reminded that whenever they make a decision under the Licensing Act 2003, they have a duty to act with a view to promoting the licensing objectives. When considering any representation, only those issues relevant to the 4 licensing objectives should be considered and appropriate weight given to the importance and relevance of each representation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, are there any questions for the Licensing Authority? That's Rotina.
Can you explain how a sort of annual licence works when we don't know the dates? And this is obviously August in the school holidays. How is that managed, or how does that work?
So that'll be managed by a condition that's attached to the licence. So in this case, Thames Valley Police agreed that the date that the applicant agrees with the events team will be communicated to the licensing authority, Environmental Health, I think it was, and Thames Valley Police, and it will all be agreed in advance of the date.
Thank you. Is there a specific time frame within which those dates need to be communicated?
So the condition that Thames Valley Police agreed, should the licence be granted, is no later than 3 months prior to the event.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Any other questions? Simon?
Yeah, so in the agreed conditions with Thames Valley Police, there's a whole load of policies and statements that need to be provided to you no later than 4 weeks before the event, which obviously that's already passed. Have you had all those? on sort of page 227, I think.
Without reading the event management plan, I can't answer that question, but if they're in the event management plan, then yes, we have received them.
Thank you very much.
So on page 230, I think that's emails between the police, or possibly you, and the applicant. It implies that some of them aren't there yet. Have we had sort of additional ones since the initial application came through?
Am I able to respond to this? Yeah. Yes, we've submitted all event management documents to SAG. We had our final SAG on Friday, so the 31st, or the 1st of August, sorry, where SAG approved they were happy with the event from a safety perspective. And the next meeting that has been booked in, depending on the outcome of this hearing, is a debrief meeting following the event. So all documentation has been submitted.
Thank you.
Okay, but do we have it here? Do we have a copy of it?
Should we keep with questions to licensing authority and we'll ask questions of the applicant in a minute. Any other questions for the authority? Seeing none, I'd like to invite the applicant to state your case. Feel free to tell us as much or as little as you want, though bear in mind we have read the papers, so there's no need to state points at length or repeat them. The way these hearings tend to work usually is in the form of a question and answer discussion. So don't feel the need to don't feel as though you have to limit yourself in what you're saying. Feel free to bring out anything that's relevant in the course of the conversation that we'll have. But the floor is yours.
So it's a 3-day festival tour that we've been doing right across the country. This is the 5th event. We've done 4 to date so far, which has been Edinburgh, Swansea, Hull and Norwich. All successful with no issues. The days consist of the Friday, which is a country music event, with tribute bands and original bands. Saturday is more of a dance-led event, which is 18+, and Sunday is a family tribute festival. Numbers-wise, we're expecting around 2,500 for the Friday, 1,000 for the Saturday, and 800 for the Sunday.
Thank you. Yeah, as you've seen, we have a full run of paperwork, but I think the bits which relate to the representations that's been put in is specifically around noise and traffic. So in terms of the noise, we've designed the site plan to cause the least impact on the residents as possible. So the site is down at the rear end of the park, with the stage directing across the farmers' fields. So the nearest residential property is a long way from the stage, which is the first line of defence against the noise management plan. Secondly, we'll have a residential letter that will be put out the week of the event, which has a hotline phone number, which is managed ourselves in event control, which will be given to all the residents in the area. And any complaints that were to come through, whether it be noise or traffic disorder, any issues that do arise for the residents, we will go out directly to that area and alleviate them. In addition, we have these traffic management plan in place where we are going to put no parking cones not in front of the residential properties. They can still access their drives, but on any areas between the houses, so that people don't go and block the access for them to get into their properties. This is then backed up by by stewards being based in the car park, which will advise members of public once that car park is full, whether it be by event attendees or general park users, that the park and ride is available just down the road. And they will also support making sure that roadway is kept clear at all times, not just for the local residents, but also to support any blue light activity, whether it's to do with the general park or the event that came to pass. Beyond that, we have a CQC registered medical company who are able to convoy to hospital if there is the need to. We have an SIA registered security team on board, and we're a touring outfit. So this is the same security provider, the same medical provider that we've done the last 4 shows with, which has been, the last 3 have been on local authority land, which has been well received by both the authority and the public. And probably the best, we've been invited back to both Norwich, Swansea and Hull, which are the 3 events on local authority land, just to show our ways of working. But I think that's a decent overview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In that case, colleagues, I'd like to invite your questions.
We've got one. First one question about the timing. What is the, you've applied from 12 o'clock to 10 o'clock for all licence support activities and the opening time of the event. What time are you going to stop serving alcohol if you're asking people to leave at 10? And also there was some confusion later on that you sort of implied that you might carry on serving alcohol and playing music till 10:30. What exactly are you applying for? And is there sufficient time between the last performance and the last selling of alcohol and people being asked to leave the property? Can you explain that?
Absolutely. So we put in for 12 o'clock on the Friday, but we're going to open at 3 o'clock on the Friday. So we're starting after our licence application. This was just due to the kind of programming and it being a working day. We run from 3 till 10 Friday and 12 till 10 both Saturday and Sunday. We stop the sale of alcohol 30 minutes before the end of show, to allow people to finish their drinks, and then we run the policy of nobody is to leave the venue with alcohol, so it's not an off-sale alcohol supply. I think in there we've referenced, in some sites we've applied for the music to run until 10:30, and although we run a hard stop at 10 p.m, we've put that in the past, just so that if the Sunday night it's Queen, if that drummer goes on for a drum solo that goes past 10 o'clock, we're then not in breach, although we do run a hard 10 p.m. finish on each day.
So, sorry, are you saying that you're only now applying to sell alcohol till 9:30 and that you are doing what exactly? Applying, because your application is till 10. I don't think we could sort of extend it afterwards because the public haven't had a chance to sort of comment on things if you're intending to do things after 10 o'clock.
No, apologies. That was what the reference to the confusion about the 10:30. We're applying for the music and alcohol until 10, but we limit the sale of alcohol before the end of doors. So we're not serving people a drink the moment the show ends.
But you've also applied for the event to run till 10. So that means everything has to be finished at 10. It's not going to finish if the last drum bang and the last pint poured is 10 o'clock.
Sorry, no, just to confirm, the music finishes at 10. The stage goes down at 10. We turn off the PA system at 10 p.m. We limit the sale of alcohol before 10 o'clock, so that everybody has a chance to finish their drink before the end of show. But the show finishes at 10 o'clock, and at that point we begin the egress from the event.
So what time will the event finish if the last band finishes at 10? What time will the event actually finish? The event finishes at 10.
So where does potentially a drummer having a solo and going on till 10:30 fit in to that?
So apologies. I think this is something that may have been in the paperwork. We don't go past 10 o'clock. Apologies. I think I've misspoken there. This is something we've done on event license applications in the past. The music is programmed to finish at 10 o'clock. The music goes down at 10 o'clock. There's normally about a few minutes, 15 minutes or so where the egress can happen, where the people then go and leave the event site. But none of that falls into licensable activity. So it's all licensable activity is finished by 10 p.m. Although we do close down the bars slightly before 10 o'clock to make sure that people have time to finish their drink, and then people aren't leaving the premises with alcohol, as that would then fall into a different part of plans, which is something that we don't accommodate.
Thank you.
You says your premises is open till 10.
It was just in regards to the sale of alcohol. So the event finished at 10 p.m. If someone wants to buy alcohol at 9:55, what time are you usually going to stop selling alcohol?
So we close the bars prior to the end of the show. So it is at 9:30 is the usual time. Is that correct?
Depends on how busy it is, yeah, 9:30, 9:45.
Is when we close the bars. So although there's people there, they are still at the event. We're not selling up until the moment the event finishes.
Just to be clear, do you have a time that you're actually going to stop selling alcohol?
For the show, it'll be 9:30. So it's 30 minutes before the end of show.
Thank you.
You might have a problem as far as your application is submitted is concerned, because there are two council policies that aren't entirely consistent with what you've put forward. Policy LH7, which states that you're not allowed to let anyone in after 1 hour before the end of licensable activities, and more to the point, policy LH5, which says that you need to cease all licensable activities half an hour, no later than half an hour before the final closure of the event. So on the times as applied for, which are 10 p.m, you would have to have stopped selling alcohol, stopped playing amplified music, stopped having the dance by 9:30. And so I'm letting you know that on the one hand, but the question from my end is, how did you decide on the times? How did you put together the sets? What's the logic behind having to have the event go on till 10, as opposed to say 10:30, 11, 9:30 on each day?
So nationwide, we run our shows until 10 p.m. And that is based on it being a long enough duration for the public to have a good time, but also it causing reducing the impact on local residents. Some of our events for Swansea, for example, were quite close to residential properties. So by finishing at 10, it meant that the music was down in ample time, so that to allow egress for people to get home, there's still being public transport available, and any residual impact on local residents.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tiller.
Maybe you should explain a bit more about your traffic management plan. There are two very tiny car parks in this park. There's concerns from the residents that you're not proposing to steward the approach roads, particularly Harvard Road. How are you going to stop there being a massive impact on the residents of that road and the roads off it? The park and ride, the train station is some significant distance, probably too far for most people to want to walk. Yeah, there's very limited parking at the event. How many sort of stewards are you going to have patrolling the roads around there and whatever like that?
So we're through our comms going out in advance. We're advertising there is no parking available on site. No parking has been booked for. So we're pre-warning people that they're not able to drive to the event site. We're pushing out as well a bit of a guide of how to get there, which will include information on the park and ride, other bus routes into the area. To protect the residents, as I mentioned earlier, we're coning off the Harbour Road and then the side streets around there, to ensure that the roadway stays free, but there's still and there is the access for the residents in the area. And then we're going to have stewards firstly on the car park, which will be looking after that area, making sure there's still the usual park users are able to come in and operate there. And then we're going to have probably two is what our initial plan is, to be looking after the Harbour Road and the side streets leading off, and that would just be enforcing, supporting the TM plan of the cones and the signage that will be put out.
Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit more about, you mentioned earlier you'd been invited back to some of the previous sites you'd held these events at. Who invited you back? What did you mean by that?
I mean the events team at the site. So we were at a park in Norwich over the weekend. So we've provisionally booked the dates with the local authority. The same with Hull and the same with Swansea. So we have provisional dates on, and we've been given the approval to go for pre-sale for next year. But that's what I meant by invited back.
Right, thank you. Could you tell us a bit about how your hiring system works? Because an event like this, and it's very, very clear from the documentation we've had, requires an absolutely immense number of staff and of performers as well. My understanding is that they're not all part of the touring group. So where do the rest come from, and how long does it take to hire them, and where do you get them from?
Sorry, could you just clarify? When you say hire, do you mean that the staff, the performers, the security?
Just the number of people being paid to make this event happen.
Yeah, 100%. So there's the event management team, which is me and my colleagues, which is through a company called Lined Up Events Limited. So that's we build the sites. You know, we put up the Harris fencing, we build the infrastructure. There's then the security company called Olympic Security, and they would provide the SIA staff, the stewards, and that is again their own pool, which I have to refer to a colleague, but I believe there is the core team, the core management team, their core staff, and then most security companies would then bring in some local providers as well to go and provide additional stewarding.
So just to cut in for a minute, the stewarding, the security company, you will be able to hire without a problem the requisite number of staff at short notice, given that this event is in 2 weeks, basically.
100%, yes.
I just want to refer you to the police conditions. It's section 7, where they talk about the policies that they want you to produce. I mean, sort of firstly, I would like you to tell me where all those policies are in the document, but at the bottom it says staff will have received training on those policies, show they understand that they can carry out. How on earth are you going to do that if you haven't even employed these people yet, and it's 2 weeks' time this event's going ahead?
So we do have the staff. So the security company have already got their staff within house. The team that I would be coming along to build the event with, I've done the last 5. The medical team, again, they have been working with us. I understand that we're here for the licensing hearing today, but we're not going to start the planning or the procurement of staff based after this meeting. We've been working on this for many months, and the same team that has been building the last 4 events with us will come along and build this 5th event on the proviso that the license is approved. So, we are not starting from the ground up. We're starting on the basis of the last 4 shows and the team that have done that.
But I mean, for instance, the policy that they've asked of violence against women and girls, I'd expect every member of your staff, even the people managing the parking, to have understood that and have implemented it. If these people you're just going to pick up a couple of days beforehand, how are you going to do this training?
We're not picking them up a couple of days before. This is the team that has been working on the previous ones, and I need to refer to my colleague from the security team about if they are going to be using any local suppliers or if this is going to be the same security team that's been with us. But there is a briefing session before each day, which we would go through any specific risks. But in additionally, before the tour started, we all met up as a group and we went through our specific policies. Which, there's a number of things, the policies we went through. So if we were to find a lost child, if we were to have somebody with a learning disability on site, if we were to have a disabled request, if we need to get a blue light vehicle off site, these are all things that we do as practice. There's things that we do week in, week out, both within this tour and other events that we run nationally, as a group and individually. But any new staff that come in, there is a full briefing done prior to the show.
Anyone?
Okay, I mean, could you, in that section 7 from the police, there's, I don't know, about 13 policies they've asked for. Can you tell us where they all are in your document? Do you have a copy of that section 7?
I'd need a minute to get the paperwork up on the laptop. But I can go through this in a moment, yes.
I mean, it's my understanding based on the bundle that I don't know if every single policy is there, but there's certainly a very large number of them which I've been through. I had a question about one of them specifically, which was your policy as far as ejecting people is concerned. You state that you will, when someone needs to be removed from the event, you will do so to a pre-approved location. Given the specificities of Cutslow Park and that location, where would you remove people to?
So when we evict somebody, our policy as a blanket is that they're not just evicted from the events; they're taken home in a safe manner, or that our duty of care doesn't end the moment they leave the perimeter. So what this would be to the car park is where we'd take them, and then we would go and request either a friend or family member or a taxi to come and take them home. Or in the event that this is due, there's a medical issue as well, they would be looked after in our medical treatment centre. And I had an event not through this earlier on this year, but where somebody needs to be taken to hospital to be sectioned. In that case, we blue lighted them off site, and then they were only handed over when they were received at the hospital. We've not on this year, but previously equally we've had someone where they've had to be removed by the police as well. So in the event of that, it would only be once a responsible authority is taken if it requires that, or a friend or family member, or taxi to them home. So we're not just going to go and leave them in the middle of a park. We're going to make sure they're looked after all the way through to when they get home.
Thanks, that's very helpful. You mentioned the possibility of having the police bring someone or take someone away, but say you had someone who was causing enough trouble that they were asked to leave, but simultaneously that the bar wasn't high enough for the police to be called. How would you manage the threat from that person?
So our SIA security would remove them from site. At this point, we would then remove them well away from the event space. So we would take them up towards the car park, where we would then, and this isn't a quick process, this takes time. It gets to the point where they understand they're not going to come back into the event. And if they are capable of making their own way home and calling a friend or a relative, that's great. Or if not, we have called taxis for people before, but this isn't we get them out and they leave straight away. It's rarely that easy. We spend time with them until they're at the point where they're calm enough to understand what's going on, and then leave of their own accord.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor?
Yeah, you talk about a campsite. I can't see that on your map for staff and staff car parking. Where is that?
I need to double check. Well, we would normally have that area behind the stage, so it's in the production area. The only people that camp are a couple of a few of the security and a few of the bar staff. Normally no more than 6 or 7 tents. So that would be in a back of house area away from the public.
Any further questions? Thank you. Just a point of ambiguity I'd like to ask you about, and I think this is just down to a typo, but I just want to make doubly sure. On page 53 of our bundle, which is well, actually in the introduction to your, I always forget the acronym, EMSP, ESM, something like that. You state that Saturday, 23rd of August, 2025 is an all-day outdoor event, etc., etc. There are 18+ age restrictions on Saturday, 24th of May, which is the wrong date. Can I just be absolutely clear that on Saturday it's going to be an 18+ event?
Apologies, yeah, this is a typo. Our Friday and our Sunday are family friendly, but due to the nature of the event, Saturday, the 23rd of August is a 18+ event. Apologies, I'll have that rectified.
Thank you very much. If I understood rightly, and apologies, Mr. McNeil, I was writing this down furiously as you were speaking. You anticipate, is it 2,500 people on the Friday, 1,000 on the Saturday, and 800 on the Sunday? Right. Can I ask how many tickets you've sold for each day so far?
At the minute, we're on 2,098 for the Friday, 700 for the Saturday, and about 650 for the Sunday.
Fantastic, thank you. Typically, do you get a last-minute rush of people wanting to buy tickets, or do you know?
No, them numbers are forecasted from what we're consistently selling throughout on a daily basis.
Thank
So
you.
they shouldn't be that far off from the projection that I've submitted.
How have you been advertising these events?
Predominantly online through meta marketing, which is Facebook, Instagram, email marketing.
Okay. Do you have any way of knowing where the people who've bought tickets have tended to come from? And could you give more details about that, please?
Yeah, I don't have them to hand, but I'll happily send some details, locations after this.
Free, if you know kind of a rough overview, feel free to give that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can get my laptop, I'll see if I can pull it up. But
it's up to you. I mean, how, Councillor Dean, actually?
You're trying to find out whether
Yeah, I am.
I guess.
So basically, could you tell me without looking at your laptop whether the vast majority of them are local?
Local, yeah. I'd say 90% are local.
Local to Oxford or Oxfordshire?
Oxford.
Oxford specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Colleagues, feel free to ask questions while I go through my notes and check whether any of mine are outstanding.
Are you going to sell tickets on the day, or is it only pre-bought tickets?
We usually go off sale an hour prior to the event online, and then we will allow some to pay on the door if they turn up. We won't turn them away as long as we've got the capacity.
There were some specific questions or concerns raised by the Residents Association on one of the roads, particularly about some of the geography of the park, and obviously they know it in more detail. Did you have anything that kind of just covered their concerns in terms of access from the park to the car park area? I think some of their concerns were over the pond, the way the floor and the ground is in that area.
Absolutely. So all of our vehicles will be coming in through Harbour Road. We would have a security base on the entrance to the park. And then the vehicles would move straight through the park using the tarmac pathway. And then there is a left and a right, which would mean all vehicles would stay on the tarmac path until they were to reach our event site. We would only have 3 large vehicles coming in, one of which is the stage production lorry, and the other 2 is the fun fair rides. We met the event officer on site prior to this hearing to go and look at the route, and it's been agreed the route that we would bring everybody in, that we would work at a 5 miles an hour speed limit for all vehicles moving through site. Everybody would have to have their hazard lights on. And that person would be situated there for the time that we're setting up, the time that the shows are on, and the time that we stand down. So that gate is manned for not just our show times, the full time we're there. With the exception of the event space, which we're inevitably going to have a vehicle drive over the grass, because how can you not? With the exception of that area, no vehicles will drive over any grass. If in the event of the weather changes and the heavens open for the next 2 weeks, we will come up with a vehicle trackway plan, including a pad for the behind the stage. As the only area really where damage is caused is where you're taking things on and off the lorries, which is where you use forklifts or moffets. In that case, we'd go and build a production pad to go and protect that area. But beyond that, any vehicles that are moving over sites would be catering units, an ambulance to back up, support our medical units. So that is the only vehicles we'd have on site. So so far this year, we've not caused any ground damage. We've also obviously had a great year weather-wise, so I can't make any promises that there wouldn't be the odd tyre mark or so, but we work on a principle that we leave no trace, and ultimately our objective is this isn't a 1 year event. We would, if this is successful, we would like to be here for years to come. So looking after the residents in the area, looking after the park, and making this so that this is a shared space for everybody, that we leave it to the same condition that we come, is high on our agenda and essential in our opinion.
Alongside they also had some concerns about the darkness in that area and people trying to exit that way. Does your planning include any lights over there? And I'm just really understanding whether that also then has any impact on the residents, I guess.
Of course, so we have generator-powered telescopic lighting towers, which are the ones that go up into the air. They normally have 6 lights on, so we would go and project a walking route, which would be at the time when the event would be, it would be dark by about 9:30. So there'll be 30 minutes, 45 an hour when people would be moving through the site once it's going to be dark. So I think we'd be looking at from the conversations with the events team from the council today, we'll probably be looking at 4 tower lights, which would be put sporadically along the walking route. But these are only kept on whilst people are egressing. So this area will be near residential properties. So once everybody has left site, we would then walk, not exactly behind the last person, but metaphorically. So follow them out and turn the lighting towers off. So by 11 p.m, we would hope that all lighting towers are off and that won't be impacting on the residents.
Sorry, one question for my licensed colleagues. Obviously, it's the bank holiday weekend. I don't know what else is going on in the city. I know usually we have something going on in South Park with the food festival, which again is kind of music, etc. Would it be the police who would say, do you know what, there's either too many things going on around the city of that kind of volume normally, or do we have any controls over or concerns about an amount of events that might happen on a bank holiday weekend?
That is a very good question, and I guess it's for the police to manage what happens in the city themselves. It wouldn't be for the licensing team or the premises license to have to deal with.
I have a question about people leaving the site. You're saying that a lot of people are local, which is welcome to hear. My expectation is that a lot of people probably won't be leaving via Harbour Road. They'll be leaving south and crossing the footbridge over the ring road, perhaps to sort of park cars in south of the ring road. Are you stewarding that exit route as well? And that's the one that takes people perhaps closer to the pond and over the ring road. Are you going to be managing that possible exit? Because if they are local people, I imagine that's a lot of them will be going that way.
Yes, absolutely. So we discussed putting a lighting tower down in that area where the pond is going to be, and having a couple of stewards down there just to make sure that area is safe and being protected. Although, as we're putting the majority of our infrastructure into encouraging people going the Harbour Roadway, whilst people leave, we will have a security there suggesting everybody goes that way. But as this isn't something we can enforce, we will have that extra provision down by the pond. But we're very much trying to encourage everybody to go the way that has been manned and is the safest option.
Thank you for your answers so far. You've applied for a license for a type of entertainment similar to dance, etc. But you've been quite reserved as to what that might consist of.
So we have dancers on the stage. On the Friday, we have line dancers teaching everybody to line dance. On the Saturday, we have performers that is dance, but they also do a bit of fire performance on the stage, which I think falls into similar to dance, but not quite. And then on the Sunday, when we've got people like ABBA up there, sometimes we have people going up and dancing on the stage with them as well.
Thank you. Alison.
I've got a question that just relates to transport. and people arriving and leaving. So you were saying that there's the park and ride nearby. There is one park and ride that's above Cutteslowe, isn't there? Which is also the station and everything. Are you relying on buses that go from there that drop off at Cutteslowe, or will you be providing other buses and shuttles and so on and so forth?
We've not planned in any other shuttle buses to take people either around town or from the park and ride.
And I just have one other question, which is about the exits. So in Cutteslowe, actually, there's several exits, isn't there? There is one there's Harbord Road. You're going to direct people towards that. Beyond the pond, there's another exit, but actually it's a nature reserve, and there's actually other paths, isn't there, that go into the nature reserve. Are you also going to guard against people using those?
This is something we would do far more so once it gets dark, as that's where the risk comes in. I think our stewarding plan at the moment is to be directing everybody to the Harbour Road and then have the provision in the through the pond. But that would probably only be a couple of stewards is what we've planned for at the moment. So we would be directing people through the main routes out onto the ring road.
And do you think it could be a risk-based assessment that actually, as you begin to understand the site a little bit more in terms of people leaving, that you might consider more security staff? Because actually there are actually a lot, I happen to be quite local to it, there are a lot of exits.
Absolutely. So through our security plan, we have a number of, we call them response teams, which is stewards and SIA security that don't have a fixed position, who can go and deal with whatever it may be. And during the end of our event, we would go and allocate at least 2 of the response teams to supporting egress. So this could be a team that we would go and send down to that area to support with the egress through that part of the park.
So could you give figures to the subcommittee? It might help in their deliberations to actually how many people do you have in your response team? Because you keep referring to, we'll have a couple here, we'll have a couple there. Exactly how many people are in your response team that actually will be dealing with stewarding?
So we work to a one security per 100 people. So we'll be looking at circa 25 security staff for the Friday, which would form both stewards and SIA security. So for this, there will be, and I've not got the exact numbers to hand, but some of the fixed positions we have people in is on bars, on the emergency exits, on the stage, and then we'll fix people fixed around the perimeter, so supporting that area. Then I think we've discussed having 2 people up at the car park by Harbour Road, 2 people, which would be the walking route in that area, another 2 supporting up on the roadway, and then people down by the pond area. I'd need to go off and discuss with the security team and get exact figures and locations for those. I'd hope I'll be able to send those to you at a later date, as I don't have those to hand. But that's the sort of numbers that we work with.
How feasible is it to keep people quiet and stop them, well, disturbing residents effectively as they walk from the site through a residential area, given that you're preferring the Harbord Road route?
It's not bulletproof. We can't keep people totally quiet, and I wouldn't want to suggest that we can. But I think a large thing for this actually is the percentage of egress that happens at certain times. For our Saturdays and Sundays, we've found that by the end of show, there's only 25% of the attendees left, and this is because this isn't like a rock and roll show where there's a major headliner. It's more consistent acts throughout the day. So people arrive in a staggered form and people leave in a staggered form. Based off the previous shows, if we have 1,500 people there for the Saturday nights, by the time we end, there'll probably be about 400. So although actually this does mean we've got a more consistent group of people arriving and leaving, it's not like we've got everybody walking out in one go, singing, shouting, being leery. It is much more staggered ingress and egress, which we found really supports the movement of people, the movement of traffic, the impact on residents. I hope that answers the question. It's a bit vague, but
Thanks.
So you're saying the maximum, the biggest time when people were leaving at the end, and you're saying that's about 400 people. leaving, you estimate?
As an estimate, yeah. So for the Saturday, our ingress normally is pretty slow between 12 and 2. Then between 2 and 4, it's quite heavy. And then people generally start leaving from 7 p.m. So between 7 and 9, it rolls. And then at the very end of the show, when we stand down the stage, there's normally about 25% of people.
So I suppose I'm just thinking there are bus stops on Banbury Road, quite close to Harwood Road in either direction. 400 people hitting those bus stops at one time is still quite a lot. Are you going to have staff up as far as the bus stops to manage that? And have you contacted the bus company to say that you might have a lot of people wanting to go in either direction at that time? And can they make sure they've got the capacity to whisk those people away? Because those bus stops are outside residential houses.
I've not, but that's a really good suggestion. That is something I will pick up after that. Because yeah, that's a very valid point. Thank you.
Okay.
This is just in regards to when you mentioned earlier that you've got your main stage facing the farmers' fields just to eliminate noise. From the map, is the second stage then facing the main stage? Isn't that then facing the residential area? How are you?
So since the application was put in, which included a second stage, due to the numbers that we're looking at, this was originally applied for as a 5,000 cap license. There is no justification for having a second stage, so there is no additional PA system that's being used. So there is no second stage.
Colleagues, are there any further questions? That's Stephen as well. Oh, yeah, Katie.
How long after the event ends do you think it will take for the site to be clear of customers?
From experience, 15 minutes. The stage goes down, there is no alcohol sale, we ask the food vendors to close, we put the main house lights up on the stage, make it very bright for everybody, and then within 10 minutes we start to do a sweep out, so we're normally site clear within 15.
You've applied for a license which will effectively be in perpetuity. You haven't suggested that you would want to hold a similar event at any other point in the year, but is that a consideration? Is that something that you might consider one day?
No, not at the moment. And if it was, it wouldn't be running through this license. We put it throughout the year so that if there was to be some change to the area, this weekend didn't work, we've got the flexibility of that, or more so the police and the events team and the local authority has the flexibility with that. But as it stands, this is only an annual 3-day show is what we are looking for the foreseeable future.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Just had one more.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've talked about when the alcohol stops being served, but about food, does that stop at the same time? Does that stop much earlier, or? From experience, people generally will have stopped ordering long before the end. But we don't put a stop to when the food is sold during the show, as it doesn't fall into the licence of activity. People can't walk out of our site with a drink, but they can walk out with a hot dog. But come 10 o'clock when the show's down, we want the site to be empty. So I've not had it on this tour, but in the past we've put a stop to stopping people joining the queue at a certain point. So 15 minutes before the end, we may put you can be served, but nobody can add on to here. But due to the nature of these events, we've not had an issue with that. But if there was on this site for any reason, that would be something we'd manage.
How long does it take after the end of an event to clear up, tidy, ensure that no rubbish is left?
The last 3 we've been gone by 4 p.m. Monday. So we have site cleaners working throughout the event. The key to a clean site is lots of bins. If you put bins out, people will use them. So we have lots of bins, lots of people available for people. Then so that we keep our site clean throughout the show. Then on Monday, it's just a case of get the brassage broken, get the infrastructure off site. By midday, normally the site is clear of all main infrastructure. We would then go and take the Harris line down and have the skips and waste collected. And yeah, end of play Monday is something's gone wrong if we're not clear of site by end of play Monday.
Okay, thank you. That's a good detail. As far as the cleaning staff concerned, where do you get them from? Who's involved?
So we have a cleaning supplier that we work with. That's again that we've toured with. So they provide the bins, bin bags, and litter pickers, and then the staff to do the litter picking. And then we work with. We've varied our approach with this in terms of how we then clear the waste. We either work with a local. We call a roll on, roll off. It's a huge skip that rolls off the back of a lorry. We'd either work with a local supplier or we have national suppliers we work with as well, people like Waste King that work nationwide or Biffa. I prefer local because when we ask for it to be collected at 3 p.m. Monday, they're there 3 p.m. Monday, whereas the national guys have a habit of turning up when it suits them. But then our waste providers, we then request that they then do any sorting of litter off site, including any recycling that can be done. So that's then, yeah, that all waste is then split by our suppliers.
And assuming you were granted a license, how long would it take to get that in place? The waste management, the staff?
So the staff, the litter pickers, the bins, the bin bags, and the staff to do the picking, that's already arranged. And in terms of getting a skip arranged, I'd like to say I could do it in about 20 minutes. It's I pick up the phone and it's sorted.
Thank you. How many cleaning staff going around constantly are necessary for a site of this size?
Because they're working throughout the day and they're working consistently, 2 is more than sufficient. And again, that's, but if you don't provide many bins, you need an awful lot more than that. But actually, people self-manage, and people do generally look after a site if you provide the infrastructure. So
how many bins have you got?
I think we've got about 30, which for a site of this size is substantial.
One last question. Why have you applied for, this is the first time you're doing it, why have you not applied for a license just for this year why are you applying for one in perpetuity? The police have got some anxiety about that, and so have the residents. Would it make any difference if it was just 1 year and you looked at it and you came back next year if it's all successful and you can prove to us that it is?
I personally like to apply for a license in perpetuity because I think it shows the willing for the fact that we're going to run this on the proviso that we want to be back next year. This isn't a dash and grab. This isn't a turn up, do it badly, and then never come back. We're looking to invest in the area, invest in the attendees, and make this an event that has longevity. My personal take on it, and from when I was a local authority officer working in the events team, I personally always just found that it showed much more positive intent was my take on it, and that's why I've been looking to do this. But we provide our other terms in the application, and within that it's that the event has to go through SAG, be signed off by SAG, and that the SAG has the control of dates and whether or not we can come back. So although we've applied for it in perpetuity, we actually put in there an option for it to be taken away and for us to not come back. That's the logic.
In your admittance policy, you state that entry is controlled via wristband, but that you generally discourage people from leaving the venue and then returning. I assume quite a few people try nonetheless to leave. How do you control how do you dissuade them from leaving and then returning?
We work on a no readmittance policy, and this is especially when people come in, they're searched. They're admitted based on if somebody's too inebriated, we can refuse entry. If somebody leaves, you then lose control of what they get up to, their consumption. So we provide wristbands for we don't exclusively provide wristbands, especially for young people to go and put the phone numbers of their parents on so they can get back. But then once you're in, you're in. And we do. I have allowed people to leave, but only under very specific circumstances. If somebody's diabetic and they need to go and get some medication, I'll work with that. But I want to nip off and go and meet my mate and then pop back in a bit. That is a hard no. Once you're in, you're in.
Thank you. As far as entry to the venue is concerned, at what point do entry numbers tail off for the night? Or do you still have a stream of people coming in for the first time right until the very end?
No, absolutely not. So the Friday, we would expect ingress to finish by about 7 p.m. If somebody comes after that, I will absolutely let them in. The Saturday, we would normally have finished ingress by 5 p.m. Although again, we work on the same principle. People can come in. The Sunday is much earlier because that is families and kids that come along to that. Normally, peak ingress would have finished by 3 p.m. that day.
Okay, so as I understand what you've said, the policy I mentioned earlier that this council's policy that last admission should be an hour before the end of licensable activities probably wouldn't have that much of an effect on the way you operate.
Not at all. Not at all. I'd be more than happy to enforce that policy of 1 hour before no entry.
Thank you. Did I see a question? Yes.
Just again, a couple of questions just for clarity during deliberations is, can you just clarify the decision making? Are you present at every single event? So are you, the final decision maker that is, because you say I would allow somebody that had needed that. So I just wanted to clarify that you're present at these events. Are you the final and ultimate decision maker?
I am one of the final decision makers. Jason next to me is the event promoter and actually has a fair sway. Again, security would be and medical would be involved in this, and we have a health and safety officer on site. So we work on a gold, silver, and bronze tiering system of decision making, but comparable to the police. So although I am there at every one, this is set up so that if I was to have a medical and couldn't come for some reason, we still have competent people and a decision making structure in place.
That's very helpful. And then the other one was just you mentioned, you gave quite a lot of detail about actions to try and prevent any damage to the site. I mean, it is a sports field actually, and I think it's right next to the football club pavilion and everything down there. So is there also a commitment to repair any damage that occurred due to weather, accidental, whatever?
So we would repair to what we could. So any ruts that are put in, we would fill them with topsoil. But equally, this is the parks team will come down to a sign off following the event, and it's agreed that any damage that is caused that either we've missed for any reason, not that we have, or anything that we couldn't fix would then be picked up by the parks team, and then they would charge us retrospectively for any damage that's done. But we do our best if we to fix any damage that we cause.
Since you mentioned the chain of command, I'm just trying to look for it again in your plan. Oh yeah, so I was going to ask, there are no names given to reflect who's at the gold level, who's at the silver, who's at the bronze. How many people are at the gold level of the chain of command and will be present on site in the evening?
So generally the gold would be the promoter level, which is Jason, and Jason is there at every event. Silver, there would be, well, sort of half gold as well myself, but in technically then the silvers would be myself, security, which is Callum, who again is here at every event, and our health and safety officer. And these are the three people that can call show stop. And then beyond that in the bronze, we would have traffic management, for example, medical would fit in there. Our production company would fit in there. The stage manager would fit into there. So the lead of each team member would fall into bronze. But the gold and the silver are present at every event.
Fantastic. In which case, Ms. McNeil, could you tell us a bit about what you'll be doing for the whole time in the evening? What will your responsibilities look like on each evening?
Yeah, of course. I predominantly just promote the show and manage the stage and make sure the event's running smooth, the programme is running smooth, everybody's having a good time. The safety aspect, it'll be down to Theo and his team. They run the event as a whole and the site. Yeah, so I'll predominantly be looking after the stage and making sure the show runs.
So say something absolutely terrible happened and a difficult decision needed to be made. Theo would go to you and then ask for your opinion, or ask for your call.
No. I would make the decision, but I would keep Jason informed of the decision as the promoter and honestly the bill payer for me. I would of course go and refer any decision that was made, but if there was a lightning storm coming over and we had to evacuate, I wouldn't refer that to Jason in the same way that the health and safety officer wouldn't refer to Jason. If anything comes into public safety, that decision is made there. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's everything from me. Colleagues, officers, any further questions? No, seeing none. Ordinarily, we would turn to the responsible authority, ask them to present their case and ask questions of them, but they aren't here tonight. Do we have any objectors, any other interested parties present? No, we do not. In which case, any final questions for anyone, from anyone? Do you have any questions? Oh, yeah, okay. Do you?
Sorry, I just wanted to make it clear for the minutes that there are no responsible authorities here because none of them made a representation.
See, sorry, I thought I'd.
Thames Valley Police agreed conditions
Right, I see.
within the consultation period, so they didn't make a representation.
Excellent. Well, in which case, I'd like to invite the licensing authority to sum up.
Thank you, Chair. So in making its decision, the subcommittee must have regard to the Home Office statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act and the Council's own statement of licensing policy. The subcommittee may take such of the following steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Grant the license in accordance with the application, modify the conditions of the operating schedule by altering or omitting or adding to them, exclude or restrict from the scope of the license any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, or reject the application as a whole. The subcommittee may also grant the license subject to different conditions for different parts of the premises or the different licensable activities. And you should also note that the applicant or any of the interested parties who made the representations have the right of appeal against any decision made by the subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant have anything to say in order to sum up?
Just thank everyone here for your time, but no further comments from us.
Thank you. In which case, I'll adjourn the meeting in order that we can deliberate, and I'll ask the licensing officers, the applicant, and members of the gallery to please leave the room. Thank you all for waiting, and welcome back to this hearing of the Licensing and Gambling Acts Casework Subcommittee. The Casework Subcommittee has resolved to grant the licence subject to the following conditions. Firstly, having used our discretion, we will apply licensing policy LH5 in relation to the sale of alcohol. Policy LH5 states that licensable activities must cease no later than 30 minutes before the close of the venue. To be clear, this means that on each of the 3 days, the sale of alcohol will cease at 9:30 p.m. We have used our discretion and we will not apply that policy for the other licensable activities. So the sale of alcohol will end at 9:30. The other licensable activities will end at 10 as applied for. Secondly, that there will only be one stage as suggested by the applicant during the subcommittee hearing, and that stage will face away from residential accommodation. Thirdly, that the conditions proposed by Thames Valley Police and agreed with Thames Valley Police will apply in full. And fourthly, that there will be a security staff to attendee ratio of at least 1 to 100 at all times, and that a continuous risk assessment will be carried out to reallocate staff to parts of the venue where disturbance is likely to occur, particularly upon egress. Are there any questions?
No, I think it's all very reasonable. Thank you very much for your considerations. We're happy to accept all of those terms.
Thank you. In that case,
Just to remind the applicant, I'm sure you're aware that if you were minded to, you do have a right to appeal, and that would be 21 days from the date of the decision notice.
In which case, I will bring this hearing to a close. Thank you all for your forbearance and have a good evening. Hello, thank you very much for waiting. I'm Councillor Jupp. I'll be the chair for tonight's subcommittee meeting. I'd like to invite my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Okay, I'm Councillor Simon Martina and I'm on the committee this evening.
I'm Councillor Ian Yateman.
Kate, oh, sorry.
So, sorry, Katie. Just before we proceed any further, actually, are there any declarations of interest in relation to this item? Seeing none, please.
Katie Thorpe, Supervising Senior Licensing Officer.
John Ali, Licensing Compliance Officer.
Aswat Khan, Committee Member Service Officer.
Alison Daly, Solicitor.
Tanaka Meros, and I'm the solicitor advising today's committee.
Brilliant, thank you very much. If the licensing, oh, sorry, please, could you introduce yourselves as well? It's late at night.
I am Mohammed Bello Halilu, the owner of Hit Afro Lodge.
I'm Samuel A. Akiemi, and I live at 259 Carly Road, adjacent to African Heat and opposite the City Arms. All right, sorry.
Sorry. There we go. Thanks very much. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for coming.
I do actually know Samuel because I used to teach his children, but I've never spoken to him about any of these applications. Is that an issue?
I think, can you tell us more about the relationship, how well you know him? What?
Well, I was a primary school teacher for 25 years, and I think 3 of his children were in my class at various times. So he would attend parents' evenings and obviously pick his children up from school. But I haven't been a teacher for quite a considerable time, and I think all his children are probably quite grown up by now.
So the children are grown up now. Was it a friendship between the 2 of you, or was it a teacher only of the children?
It's a professional relationship, yeah.
And do you know anything about the business that you're about to make a decision on?
No.
And have you considered the council code of conduct, Councillor Ottino? And do you come to this with an open mind?
Yes, I do come with open mind.
Just a question from me. Have you had any communication with the applicant since your children left, since his children, beg your pardon, left your teaching?
I mean, I have seen him in East Oxford, obviously, but obviously I wasn't aware he was involved in this application at all until he said his name.
It's just very important that there's no predetermination, that there's been no communication about the application. If you did, it would be right that you would declare it. But it's most important, it's a matter for you, Councillor Ottino, to understand, and you must apply the Councillor Code of Conduct. The most important point being whether or not it could be perceived by the public that you had a connection that might lead you to make a particular decision on it. But you didn't.
No, I'll come with this completely open mind. I just wanted to declare that I had.
Presumably you did know the name of the business and you did see the name of the applicants, so it wasn't before you came.
I didn't know the name of the applicants, but I obviously knew the name of the business.
Are we clear to proceed? Yeah. In which case, could I invite the licensing authority representative to present the case, please?
Thank you, Councillor. The licensing subcommittee hearing is convened to determine an application submitted by Hit Afro Lounge for variation to premises licensing in respect of Hit Afro Lounge 282 Cowley Road, Oxford. The applicant seeks to vary the current premises license to the following: sale of alcohol from Sunday to Saturday, 1200 hours to midnight, to Monday to Wednesday, 12:30 to 00:30 hours, and Thursday to Sunday, 12:30 hours to 01:30 hours. Late night refreshment from Sunday to Saturday, 2300 hours to midnight, to Monday to Wednesday, 2300 hours to 00:30 hours, and Thursday to Sunday, 2300 hours to 01:30 hours. Recorded music from Sunday to Saturday, 0900 hours to midnight, to Monday to Wednesday, 2300 hours to 0030 hours, and Thursday to Sunday, 2300 hours to 0130 hours. New activity proposed, live music. Monday to Wednesday, 2300 hours to 0030 hours, and Thursday to Sunday, 2300 hours to 0130 hours. Opening hours, not previously specified. Monday to Wednesday, 1230 hours to 0100 hours. Thursday to Sunday, 1230 hours to 0200 hours. A copy of the application and the steps that the applicant intends to take to promote licensable activities, licensing objectives can be found at Appendix 1. These measures will become enforceable conditions attached to the license should the variations be granted. The existing premises license can be found at Appendix 2. The application received no representations from responsible authorities. The application did attract one representation from an interested party, which highlights concerns in relation to how the application may fail to promote the licensing objectives of prevention of public nuisance. These representations can be found at Appendix 3. The subcommittee and all other parties at this hearing will note that a map detailing the applicant's premises and surrounding area is attached at Appendix 4. Other relevant consideration. The subcommittee is reminded of its responsibilities under the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 and the Human Rights Act when considering the fair balance between interests of the applicant and the rights of local residents. Any decision taken by the subcommittee must be necessary and proportionate to the objectives being pursued. Members are reminded that whenever they make a decision under the Licensing Act 2003, they have a duty to act with a view of promoting the licensing objectives. When considering any representations, only those issues relating to the 4 licensing objectives should be considered, and appropriate weight given to the importance and relevance of each representation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the licensing authority? Tina.
So just to confirm, the police haven't suggested any additional conditions based on it opening later?
No.
And can you just run us through nearby premises that are licensed after midnight?
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, and just to confirm that the cumulative impact policy will not apply. Yes. Katie, how long is it like to take you? Should I wait or we'll move on and come back to you? Okay, sure. In that case, could I invite the applicant to summarise their case or lay out their case? These hearings tend to take the form of a discussion between the panel and the applicant, with questions being posed by the panel and the applicant answering at length. You don't need to restate anything that you may already have stated at length in the application because we've had sight of the papers, but use your time as you wish.
I would assign Mr. Sam to speak on my behalf.
My first question is, where is the objector? The person objecting to this license, where are they?
You have to praise. Sorry.
The person objecting to this license, where are they?
It's up to the objector whether they come to the hearing or not.
Okay. I've lived at 259 Cowley Road since 2021. And if there's anything that disturbs me more, it actually comes from the city arts. I work part-time at the Six Bells in Kidlington. And sometimes I don't finish till 12 o'clock at night. When I get back, I want to sleep. I don't want speakers outside a pub. I don't want the doors of the pub being left open and music blaring. Okay, I've never really complained about this because I can't be bothered about the process. But this has been the blight of my life for 4 years. because I've lived at the same address. Now, it's not so bad now, okay? The students are away, the football season is not happening, because especially the football season, that noise will start from before kickoff, and it will go on and on. I mean, I should have complained right there. So if anybody wants to complain, they really should be complaining about them rather than African Heat. My first experience with African Heat was my 60th birthday, which I celebrated at the premises at 282 Cowley Road before they moved to the new premises that they are now. And since they've been there, I haven't heard, you know, any disturbance or noise that prevents me from sleeping. Because, I mean, when pups open their door, the noise is magnified, okay? But, you know, once they shut their door, that noise is contained. So I don't have a problem with African Heat as to being a public nuisance, because I've been in there myself.
Sorry, could you make it clear for us what your relationship to the applicant is? And
I'm just you know, I'm not a business partner. I'm just somebody who uses African.
This opportunity to speak right now is so that the applicant can lay their case as put in the submission to the authority.
All right, let me address the issue of public nuisance that was brought up by the objector. So we've sent in a proposal to the objector to invite him to come and see us in the premises so that we can perhaps maybe meet halfway in terms of maybe installing a noise limiter, if that will help, or perhaps for him to come and see us and we agree on a level of decibel that would please him. At the same time, the business will keep going on. It's about finding that balance between running a business and also ensuring that the community is safe and people can have sleep, and we understand that they've got work to do. But the objector refused to come and see us. He declined our invitation. And we've also, that's my security. And recently he's downloaded the noise limiter on his phone. So he monitors the noise on a daily basis. In fact, as part of our license condition, we have policies in place to mitigate issues of public nuisance. And finally, I would like to conclude that if Heat Afro Launch was having issues of public nuisance, I'm sure one of the relevant authorities would have had a track record of that and they would have objected to the application. Thank you.
Colleagues, do you have any questions for the applicant? On mute. Sorry.
Sorry, you mentioned a noise limiter. Did you say you have a noise limiter?
Yeah, so Javi has downloaded the noise limiter on his phone, so we keep monitor of the noise level.
And maybe to the license, that isn't in one of the original conditions, is it? No. And are you offering that up as a condition that you would always have that noise limiter? And then I suppose what would the limit be?
Yeah, we offered that as a condition to be attached to the license if that will make the objector happy.
Are you able to give any advice about what the limit would be?
So can I ask him a question? When you say noise limiter, what do you mean exactly? Is it an app that monitors the noise as opposed to limits the noise, so it doesn't control the level of noise?
So what the app does is if we can agree on a set decibel, and then we can keep a monitor on the app. Once it hits that decibel, then we have to turn the volume down.
So it's not a noise limiter per se, it's just a monitoring app. Yeah. I'm not an environmental health officer, so I don't know about noise. I would have to check.
Can I add something to that? Before putting the application, I contacted Mr. Kevin from the environmental health team, and I invited him to come to the venue so we both can agree on the set volumes on the speakers. And he promised to come and see me, but he's just been busy, so he hasn't come down here to see me. So I'm actively doing something in terms of mitigating anything to do with public nuisance.
I'm sort of asking this to you and the officer again, is it then possible to sort of have some condition that agrees a limit between the environmental health and the applicant attached to a license? Is that possible for you, and would that be possible for you?
I can certainly check what is a reasonable decibel level. And it can be a condition that can be added to the license, yeah.
I'd quite like to ask you a series of questions about your application. So I hope you, yeah, but these are all for the sake of clarification and for our kind of understanding. Why have you decided that you want to extend the hours during which you offer licensable activities and introduce these new activities? What's the motivation?
Okay, Heat Afro Lounge is the only African restaurant and bar in the entire Oxfordshire. So majority of my customers do not turn up to about 11:30, and in our culture, we don't have times that we eat. We eat all time of the night. We can wake up at 1 a.m. and we want fufu and we eat fufu. So extending the hours would help keep the business going.
Thank you. The objection we received is very, very detailed and makes reference to several, makes several comments which are presented as being factual. So I'd like to ask you about each of those in turn to hear what you make of them. The objector characterizes your establishment as having loud thumping bass music at night. Is it accurate that you play bass music?
That is very incorrect. And we, on the same objector's report, he also said that we admit underage people, which is a big lie, it's a gross lie. That's not true, because that's something that police would have picked up. And we have a security that check IDs to everyone that comes into the venue. And there are so many other things that he mentioned here in his objections that are very incorrect, because I'm sure the licensing team or the environmental health should have had a record of that.
Add to that, please. What the objection wrote there are what we call baseless allegation, and they can also be construed as libel, because if this establishment is what she's painting the establishment, or he or she is painting this establishment to be, then there will be, how should I say it now, a record with the Council of Complaint.
I'll ask the applicant about each of these things
Okay.
in turn. The objector says that when you were based at 189 Cali Road, there were ongoing complaints from the public about excessive noise, underage drinking, which you say hasn't happened, and associated antisocial behaviour. Have you had complaints from the public? What's your response to that?
We haven't received any complaint from the public. In fact, the neighbors are all welcomed in there, and they do come into our venues. Was it 2 weeks ago? One of the neighbors had a birthday celebration in there. Is that right? Okay, cool. So I haven't had any complaints from the neighbors. In fact, one of the neighbors had a birthday celebration in there about 2 weeks ago. So since we moved into 282 Caldo, we've been welcomed by the neighbors. We haven't had any issues or complaints from the neighbors.
You've never had a complaint?
We never had a complaint. And he also mentioned here that we did not put out the posters for the application outside. But in fact, I didn't even put one. I put two papers outside in the window to show the public that we've applied for the license. I took a picture of that and sent it to the council.
Is it true that what's your attitude with keeping the doors open or closed in the evenings?
So in the evenings, when we have events, we close the doors. During the day, the door stays open, but in the evenings, when the DJs come in, when we're playing recorded music, the door stays closed.
What's the cut-off time?
So from 9 o'clock, the doors are closed, from 9 p.m. Well, not closed, kept shut. Sorry.
When the doors are shut, how much of what's going on inside can be heard outside?
I wouldn't say that much compared to other places on Cowley Road, to be fair.
What type of music do you tend to play?
We play Afrobeats.
And how will that change, assuming your license is granted as?
If the license is granted, that will keep my business going, to be honest. As I said, majority of my customers work late and they don't tend to get there till about 11 o'clock. So I tend to trade just for an hour. So the license is very important to me.
You've given us an idea of what kind of people come to your establishment. It sounds like quite a community-based clientele. Have you given thought to how the people coming to your bar might change if your application, if the license is granted as applied for? Do you think there might be a change in the type of people coming to your bar?
So we have policies here which are part of our license conditions. So we have queue management policies. We have sales and force identification policies. We have responsible service of alcohol policies. We have noise policies as well in place, and all the staffs are all trained in all the policies we have in-house. I wrote the policy myself, and I ensure that all the staffs are trained in these policies.
Thank you. Can I just ask the licensing authority, have you had any complaints or any reason to suspect that existing license conditions haven't been adhered to?
Not whilst Heat Afro Lounge have been the license holder, no.
Yes.
At the previous address, yes, there were a number of noise complaints at the previous premises, yeah.
Is there any more you can say about that, the detail? Thank you. So at the previous address, was it 189? Yes, 189 Cowley Road. Were you also in charge there? And
I was in charge of 189 Cowley Road.
So what do you make about the noise complaints that were received by the licensing authority?
Whilst on 189 Cowley Road, I remember I had one noise complaint from the environmental health team. That was before we applied for the variations, because I surrendered the license from 189 Cowley Road, and then now I'm reapplying for the license. And we agreed with environmental health on to put in a noise limiter. That's what Ms. Thompson was talking about earlier. We agreed with environmental health to install a noise limiter at that time.
But if I understand rightly, the noise limiter you've installed is an app on someone's phone.
At that time we installed, yeah, it was an app. He was monitoring the noise.
Okay, and the limit was set, the decibel limit, if I understand, was set in accordance with what environmental health said.
Yeah.
And was never deviated from.
Yeah, because the noise was kept under control, and we only had one complaint, and we never had any other complaint after that.
So you have had noise complaints before?
From 189 Cowley Road, yeah.
Okay.
And may I also just add to the question you asked, Ms. Thompson, about the previous business that was there before I took over. So the kind of music they play is completely different from what we play, Afrobeats. And they were mostly into techno music, so that could be really loud. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Colleagues, do you have any questions?
I think, would you want to turn you off? But
Oh, sorry.
I think you back onto a churchyard, is that right? But there are some houses close to you. I'm wondering why you also want to extend the hours on Thursday and Sunday night, because they are nights which are followed by school, and whether you've considered that the fact that there will be some families, at least nearby, who may be impacted, if not by the noise from the establishment, by people coming and going, whether you really need to be applying for Thursday and Sunday night extensions that late or not?
So neighbors I have on my left, on both sides of my neighbors are all businesses, and behind me is a cemetery, and there's another business, City Arms, which is 3 doors down from me. So it's quite a business area. It's more commercial area.
Any thoughts about Thursday night and Sunday night impacting families?
Thursday nights, we have the African Caribbean Society. So they want to start doing their events every Thursday there. So that's the reason I put in the application for Sunday.
Sorry, could you just repeat that last bit again? I didn't quite hear.
So the reason why I put in the
ACS?
application for Thursday is because the African Caribbean Society of Oxford Brookes University and Oxford University would like to do events every Thursday in there. Because I do host the Oxford Brookes hockey team on Wednesdays.
Have the African and Caribbean Society told you how many people they expect to come?
Up to about 100.
So that's 100 people who will be of student age. How do you intend to? Because this is a change from what, in terms of people coming to your bar, this is going to represent a change compared to what's happening previously. So what will you do differently to ensure that, you know, there isn't excessive disturbance caused to local residents, to ensure that the potential for disorder is kept to a minimum?
So normally when we have events, we tend to, so I do a risk assessment, and if I know that it's going to be problematic, then I get in an additional security. So Jabi here is the head doorman, so we talk together and communicate and ensure that if we have events that we think we're gonna have issues when we do our risk assessments, then we bring in additional security. Normally we have 2 securities on the door, but if we have events like that, then we tend to have 3 securities.
How soon before the event typically do you get the security booked?
Sorry?
How soon before such an event do you perform the booking for security?
So as soon as we get the events book, I notify Jabi, who is the head doorman, and then he organizes the security part of things.
How often does your security staff have to deal with problem customers, people who are causing?
Generally, I would say Heat Afro Lounge doesn't really have problematic customers. That I can tell you that, because I've lived in Oxford for over 21 years, and if I see someone that's problematic, I can tell it's problematic. Being in the business for a while now, I'm experienced to know that.
Thank you. Returning to the, I think, yeah, it might be helpful to hear. Yeah.
First of all, my name is Ibima Jabi. I'm the head of my team. I just want to come to certain points. Number one is the reason Stephen's why we requesting to 2 o'clock or something like that. Another one of the reasons most of our customers or clients are just currently, so and they're all fully working. So most of them before they finish it's 10 o'clock, because right now we close at 12 or 12. But they all complete when they get their results. We don't compromise when we start to close. So it's like that's one of the reasons. And when it comes to noise management as a security, we don't joke with that. GJs, if I come in, I know it's loud, but it's got to stay on the down, and you will actually put it down. County road, I was in many clubs, I go to, I was in festivals, I was silver stones, so I will make places. The heat is the only place when the police come anytime, they don't find anybody standing at the door, because we want to make sure that person not there. Because people outside makes noise, you don't control the noise outside. It's the only place even the police keep telling them, oh, no place when we come here, we don't even know that are people inside, because it's always quiet outside compared to other bars or clubs around the house. Because we don't want people playing around. It's a neighborhood area, so we want to be invested. So it's the only place. The only time I feel someone comes to report noise was only once when we moved to this place, and it was very when your door is open, I can notice that the door is open, the door is open. So that, for example, someone is coming in, someone is going out. So I told him, okay, we'll try to move in that. So I made sure I told him, whoever is working for you at the door, the moment they're going, just your hand will get close next to the door. And we also introduced some stickers, something like that, between the doors next door.
Okay, like a soundproof.
So that was a compilation of that. That was all. But to be honest, our noise, we are definitely working to make sure noise. When you are outside, you don't hear.
Yeah. Yes, I just wanted to clarify from you in regards to the noise limiter. How does it work? Do you get an alert on your phone if it's too loud, or do you have to have the app open and keep an eye on that?
Yeah, it's like when you put the apps on, it's just a one, so you know what to leave if you set up those apps, everything on there. So the moment it goes in the light, you will know.
It vibrates.
It's high, and you put it down.
It vibrates in your pocket as well. If your phone is in your pocket, yeah.
But now it's like most of all the DJs now we use that. They can use sound video. But DJs they love to make it happen. They know it's when you come there, the sounds on control. So,
How can I show you that we are actively doing something in terms of, you know, getting that balance between the business and the community and the local community?
And just to follow-up question, you said that you keep your doors shut from 9 p.m. If a license was to grant it in these new hours, would you still keep your door open at 9 p.m. or would you extend it a bit more because you've got a bit more?
No, absolutely. 9 p.m. the door will be shut. Yeah, thank you.
anytime that's a beauty that goes, because we never have this shot. But I guess say one thing for everybody.
Just before you speak, could you tell us who you are, sir, please?
My name is Ken. I'm a businessman within Oxford. I run a care agency.
Oh, sorry.
I run a care
What's your
agency.
relationship to the applicant? To the applicant? What's your relationship? Friend?
Oh, so I know him as somebody who I go to his club to excel. I say to excel. We have very busy schedules, myself, within Oxford, because I've employed so many people. Those are the people he's saying would like to go to the establishment. They work long shifts, maybe 8 till 8.
I appreciate that you've come to support your friend. There is only a certain type of contribution we can take into account, and that is a contribution which directly pertains to the 4 licensing objectives we have to have regard to when we make this decision. And so I hope you don't mind if I say that we can't take your contribution right now. And we'll proceed with our questioning and with the discussion of the application that we've been having. And yeah, I have a few more questions, colleagues. I think you might as well. I'm really sorry.
You mentioned a student night, but I think, did you also mention that mostly people coming after work? So what is the sort of age profile of most of your customers?
So on Wednesday nights, we organize student. We've been doing this for about 4 years now, the Oxford Brooks hockey team. But other than that, majority of my customers are, say, 30 and above, I would say.
Sorry, just addition to your his answer to your question.
Sorry.
Sometimes people even tell me, like, I also work at a Boots pharmacist as a pharmacy dispenser. So when I sometimes invite my colleagues to come there, they say, oh, but that place is for old people. Like, because they know most of the people going there, they are kind of like grown, definitely grown people, like kind of like old age people, most of them, I would say 70% of our customers that comes there. So people knows that kids go there, but it's not like that kids anyway. So that's why most of the kids will not go there. And
just to add into that, the complainant who says we allow kids in, as a security officer, I know it's against the law to allow kids that are under 18 in the clubs. It's definitely, and even though it's a restaurant, when we come in there at that time and before the music started coming, even people are there with their kids, parents like they come to eat. Before 9 o'clock, 10 or half 9, I will ask them they need to wrap up to leave because music will start on. So we are very cautious with that.
These events with the African Caribbean Society and with other university societies, members of those societies will be under the age of 18. Are you going to be checking IDs for everyone who comes in, or what's the plan?
Yeah, if it is a program that's organized by kids under 18 anyway, that's different from people that are over 18. So if they are under 18, we know what they should be doing. Is that the question?
I appreciate that. No.
Yes.
I meant you mentioned you're extending your opening hours on Thursday specifically because ACS have said they'd like to organise something with you. ACS, the vast majority of them will be above 18, but there will be some members of ACS who are not.
It's a nice answer that one. So the ones that come to HEAD on Thursdays are all above 18 years old. Now, we have a policy, so because we do check the IDs. We also have a policy in place, in-house policy. After 9 o'clock, we do not admit under 18s into HEAD.
Okay, thank you. Returning briefly to the objection that was submitted, the objector says this bar is in reality a nightclub fronted by a restaurant or takeaway business. Putting the characterization kind of given by the objector to one side, I'm curious as to where you would draw the line between a nightclub and just another bar. What would you describe your establishment as a nightclub?
Okay, now this goes to cultural differences. You see, where we come from, we eat, drink, party, dance at the same time. So HEAD, we sell food throughout the night. If you come to eat at 1 a.m., you want food, we'll give you food. So food is there available throughout. So we operate the DJs there. We have license to play recorded music. So it's all part of the ambience for the night.
And would you say that, you know, if people are eating late and they're drinking late and they're having a good time late, they will tend to be noisy as they leave the bar. What would you say has been the tendency with your guests? Do they indeed tend to be noisy when they leave late at night?
We have a crowd dispersal policy, in-house crowd dispersal policy in place to address that.
Licensing, we haven't had sight of the previous license, but could you characterize the crowd dispersal policy for me?
The current license is in the report. The current license.
You know, I have read it.
And it does say that they will have implemented written policies.
Yes.
And one of them is the crowd dispersal policy.
Those are right, but we haven't seen the specific crowd dispersal policy.
No.
Yeah, okay, good. So what is your crowd dispersal policy?
So we have a pre-closing procedures, which is to inform the patrons 30 minutes before we close. And all the staffs have been trained on crowd management, conflict resolution, and emergency response, and orderly exit facilitated and orderly exit process controlling the flow of patrons towards the exit point. And then we have safety procedures, conducting safety checks to ensure patrons exit the premises safely as well.
Okay. How successful is that in practice? Is there noise?
No, there's no noise. I personally am always there every weekend, so sometimes during the week as well. So we normally have 2 or 3 securities depending on the sort of events we are doing. So once the event is over, I always join the security teams to ensure that everyone comes out safely and also try to mitigate the noise as they leave.
Thank you. Colleagues, are there any further questions? Councillor Team.
So currently you're licensed till midnight. So in terms of people leaving, can you describe the times that people leave? Does everybody stay until midnight leave then, or are people leaving at various points throughout the evening?
So, I don't mind. I'll say that. So, some people leave before midnight, or some people leave after we close at 12:30 because the licensing activity stops at 12 o'clock, and then they have half an hour to leave. So towards the end of the night, by some of them, obviously, if they want to go somewhere else, they will leave maybe early in case if wherever they are going to has got like 30 minutes or an hour last entry. So some might leave early if they know they know we close 12:30. But majority of the times, 12:30, that's when around 12:20, 12:25, by then the whole premise is empty.
Thank you. Please.
Yeah, regarding the time people leave, heats, the old heats and the new heats, the difference there, the old heats, the challenges we might have there, that was because the old heats was opposite O2, and normally O2 always finish late. So, and then we have gaps in our pavements whereby most of the time people, when they finish, you cannot see crowd coming from O2 to opposite heat and then standing gathering around there. So we have that difficulty there. But these new premises, honestly, the moment people come out, you just see them, taxis are waiting them to go. Some are moving towards Baron or these other areas. But even me myself, my phones, I have all my taxis numbers there because I keep calling taxis for people just to get in and then go, because we don't want to see, I want to go sleep. So we don't want to see people loitering around, and I want to make sure people get home safe. So nobody will be hanging around there. It's very easy for us to get people out and then to go home safely.
Thank you. You've indicated, at least in part, to return to this again, that part of your motivation in requesting extended licensable activities and extended closing time was to accommodate some sort of arrangement you'd made with student societies, various student societies. What will be the events that these student societies hope to hold at HEAT?
That would be their social events.
Okay, but what kind of social evening? Because the students at the universities here will have crew dates, for example, and then they'll just have drinks evenings. And the difference between, in terms of the disorder that's likely to be caused, a crew date is likely to be much more disruptive than simple drinks evening is.
So some of the events are organized because I have students from different part of the world, some from Kenya, some from Nigeria, some from Ghana and all that. So on different weeks of the events, they organize different. So it starts with the food. So it could be cooking, for instance, traditional Kenyan dishes, and then that will be the start of the night. And then sometimes they bring in their local, they email me to get them local alcohol of their country of origin, and then that's what we take to kickstart the events.
That was going to be my next question. What drinks do you typically sell the most of? And later in the evening, do you notice a change in what you tend to sell?
So we sell drinks from all over Africa, including mainstream drinks, continental drinks. Now, if I'm focused on the events, on the ACS events. So if, for instance, if it's a Kenyan event for the week, then we try and get Kenyan beverages as well. If it's Nigeria, we'll get Nigerian beverages. But I'm half Cameroon, half Nigerian. So majority of the drinks we have there are Nigerian drinks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's.
Sorry, I'll repeat that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I also forgot, so it is frustrating, I know. Quick question for Katie. The current license is at the back of the pack, isn't it? So the conditions that are applying are from page 267, 268, 269, correct? Yeah. Okay. So and then the question to the applicant is that this is your current license, the current conditions, and the last one actually, number 16, well, the last three condition 14, no admittance to the premises less than 1 hour before the end of licensable activity. Is that something you stick to? No one's admitted?
Yeah, that's something we stick to, yeah.
And then it says all customers will be cleared 30 minutes after the conclusion of the last licensable activity. So you've got 30 minutes. So it's completely closed, shut, no one in there. And then the last one is that the sale of alcohol shall only be to persons who are eating at the premises, have placed an order, or are waiting to place an order for food. So I think that's clearly linking the activity at your premises to a restaurant and food, and that alcohol is only sold when it's in relation to a food. And is that something you can assure the committee that that is stuck to? Because people have used bar, club, and those aren't associated with food. So I'm wanting to get an assurance from you for the committee that actually this is in fact a food-based venue.
As I earlier mentioned, I said as part of our culture, food is a big part of it. So we drink, eat, dance all together in one. We don't separate either of them. So there's something in our culture that is called suya. So that goes with alcohol. So that's standard. You can't have alcohol without eating suya. So that's something that majority of our customers do. They come in, order their suya before they start drinking.
That's good to know. That's interesting. But can I just, for the avoidance of doubt, whenever someone orders alcohol, do you make them order food at the same time?
We do not make them order food. It's a natural thing in Haiti. When you come in, you sit down, you want to order something to eat before you start drinking.
But if someone came in and ordered a drink, but no food, would you serve it to them?
Well, except if we have events. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been organizing events. So we do apply for license for that if we're organizing events. But on a normal trading day, we wouldn't.
Sorry, did you say you've got separate licenses for the?
If we're organizing events. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been having events. We had the African Festival in Blackbelly's Park, and we did the after party in Haiti. So in situations like that, we do not require them to buy food before buying drinks.
Have there been temporary events?
Are you referring to temporary event notices?
That's correct.
Yeah, yes, there have been. Yeah.
It's good to know. That's good to know. Colleagues, are there any further questions?
Thank you for explaining about the door, etc. Because it's understandable as people are coming in and out that the noise comes. When you moved to the new property, knowing that there were some noise issues at the previous premises, were there any other things that you did in the premises that might have helped abate some of that leak at the base, which seems to be the main concern?
So in the previous venue, when I spoke to Kevin from the environmental health team, he suggested not to put the speakers too high up in the ceiling because that would make it more noisy. So he said perhaps maybe put it halfway to the ceiling or maybe somewhere on a stand that will not be too high up. And in these new premises, we do not have the speaker right up. So that helps to limit the sound level.
Did you consider any further like insulation options, those sort of things that might just maybe negate some of that impact upon like some of the neighbours or those concerns that might have been raised previous?
So Jabi previously mentioned that we have put in soundproof behind the doors. So that will help mitigate the noise from going out.
Apologies, I had a question lined up there and it's just completely vanished from my head.
Always take it away.
Yeah, it's the noise in the background. Yeah. Oh yes, it was going to be about your garden. So you have a garden to the rear of the bar / restaurant. Is there any audio equipment in that garden at all? Yes.
Yeah.
What?
We have a small speaker in the garden.
Okay. And that speaker?
And the speaker doesn't produce the amount of noise, the volume exactly the same as the inside. It's a very small speaker. So it's mostly sort of like a background music. Yeah, and the garden is fully covered.
The garden's fully
covered.
fully covered.
Yeah.
Okay. Licensing. How does that work? It was the if the garden's fully covered, does that count as an indoor or an outdoor? It would depend really on the planning permission as well. Isn't it?
Behind the garden, we have a cemetery. There's no residential building behind. It's a cemetery.
Nonetheless. Just bear with us 1 second.
Is it a garden or is it part of the building?
It is part of the building. It's not really a garden as it is. It's a part of the building.
What's the covering made of?
So the cover is made of is it plasterboards? So it's fenced around, and then the roof is covered with it's got like PVC panel, those PVC panels, but it opens and then it closes.
Temporary?
No, you can call it temporary structure. Yeah, it should be a temporary structure. Because you should be able to remove the roof if you unscrew it. So it's one of them that you install.
I mean, the application, it is that recorded music and live music is indoors only, so I think it's be part of, if you want to ask some further questions, but it'd be part of deliberations whether you consider that to be indoors or not.
On the site plan of the building, how does this space show up?
It shows us inside. So the garden is more of inside, it's not like a garden, like in Heat, we had a garden, which is completely separate from, in the previous Heat, the garden was completely separate from the main building, but this one is attached to the building itself.
So looking at the side of it, is there material there, or is it, can you kind of directly see and kind of touch the open, as it were?
Sorry.
So you mentioned there was a roof. Are there walls? Wall and roof, and there's no open. Okay. But presumably very poorly soundproofed if the roof's made out of PVC.
In the garden, we do not play loud music in the garden now. So the loud music is from the inside, but once you're going towards the back area, not garden, I'll call it the back area, we have a separate speaker in there, which is a small speaker that size, and that's just mostly for background music.
Do you play throughout the night? Or
We play throughout the night. What I personally do is they play the speaker up until 11 o'clock. After 11 o'clock, I turn down the volume from the speaker. So the speaker has got a volume regulator at the back. So I turn it down, even though our neighbors are cemetery, but you have to respect them.
I would have thought that a floor plan, sorry, I'm just, that maybe a floor plan, yeah, whether or not was sort of attached to the application.
You're on this application, you're applying for live music. Whereabouts in the premises are you going to have the live music playing?
So the live music would be inside the venue, not in the back rear area. It will be inside. I also had a proposition to drop down the live music if that was going to satisfy the objector.
So live music could be offered. It's something that the subcommittee could consider if that you would drop. It's not crucial to your business, if you like. Okay. And in any case, live music would not be taking place in that more temporary area. Do you, if you have if you had live music, would it also be relayed on this small speaker?
If we have live music, it will be inside the venue next to the bar. So that will be on the speakers inside.
It's not going to be repeated on the speaker outside.
No, it won't be. It's separate. It won't be repeated outside.
I'll come to you in a minute. When you play music on this 50-watt speaker outdoors, or in this space at the back of the building, I should say, before you reduce the volume, is it audible outside anywhere?
That's all. I've got a shop just behind on the other street, Muglin Road, a corner shop. And when I go to my shop, I can't hear the music from the back garden.
Okay. Simon?
Yeah, live music, it's not that huge a venue, is it? So how many, are you talking about a band or a couple of people playing or 15 saxophones?
So it would be, obviously it would be a live band. It would be a live Afrobeats band. And I've had a live Afrobeats band once in the previous hit, and it wasn't loud at all. And also the rhythms and the drums in Afrobeats, it doesn't come out distorted like that to the point where it comes with heavy bass that you can hear from a distance now.
Another question for the doorman. How do you manage people smoking outside? Do you have a lot of people smoking outside? How do you manage that?
That one inside, we don't allow smoking inside, and even vaping is not allowed inside. And all our customer or whoever comes new, we tell you at the door, vaping, smoking is not allowed inside. That's why we use the backyard for smoking or vaping. So, and that place too, as about the noise, when I'm there, I can speak to anybody. I don't need to move around because they will hear me. The music is not loud there. So definitely I can be here and then talk to someone down there. So that's how low the music will be.
So you use this backyard, you allow people to smoke and vape in this backyard?
Yeah.
Then it must be outdoors.
Yeah.
How's the ventilation there, just out of curiosity?
We have a roof there, that's open roof. You can open it and close it. So if we have people that comes out smoking, we open the roof for the ventilation to go in.
How long would you estimate that the roof is open for every evening?
It depends on the time and also the people smoking there. Because if it is time, like let's say around 11, 12, that one is not compromised. So it will be closer. If you want to smoke, you have to find your way somewhere else to go smoke and then come out.
So if you say to people, it's too late to open the roof and we need you to go find somewhere else to smoke, naturally you can assume that those people go to the front of the restaurant or bar and just smoke there, don't they?
Because we normally close at 12 o'clock until we get the license yet anyway. But yeah. So in that case, because as I said, the roof is you can open it, and the music there, that's what's the more problem is. So that's where we will just switch it off. If that music is off, then people can be doing their smoking there and then coming back in there. That would not be a problem for any noise to go out. And
okay, but as far as crowds of people at the front of the business smoking are concerned, do you get people coming outside and wanting to smoke and, perhaps late? How do you deal with them?
Yeah, in that case, what we do, we make them a queue. So for example, if 10 or 5 people say, I'm going for smoke, we say, no, you have to wait. This one is going out first, they smoke and they come in, so that they will not cause any too much loud outside there, because the moment you put more people outside, they will start chatting, and the noise will go. So we make sure we control the numbers that are coming out to smoke, and then they go in and the other ones comes out if we ever want to smoke. That's how we manage it.
I appreciate your answers. I'm going to ask further questions. How many people at a time do you let out?
It depends on the people waiting. For example, if 5 people are waiting there, I might allow 2 people to come out and then smoke. They go in there, another 2 people come out, smoke, and then go back in.
Thank you. Licensing, do we have a floor plan by any chance?
The floor plan that I have is from 2015 when the premises license was granted initially, and obviously it's been transferred. And the plan, as far as I can see, hasn't changed since then. and it shows the outdoor, the area at the back as a garden. And as they've explained how they use it as a smoking area, sometimes I would, in my professional opinion, say it was outdoors, yeah.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions, please? No, I also have no further questions. Thank you very much for sticking with the questioning. I will now invite the licensing authority. Oh, yeah, sure.
You had a couple of questions at the start about premises around. So the City Arms, which has been mentioned a couple of times, has a license for the sale of alcohol and recorded music until midnight. Then there's a restaurant around that has the sale of alcohol until midnight as well. And then further up Cowley Road, you've got Baron, which has a license to sell alcohol and recorded music until 1:30, and then Cafe Barber, alcohol and recorded music again until 1 a.m. Obviously, they're quite a way up Cowley Road. I think City Arms and the restaurant that I mentioned are the ones closest. And the noise complaints from the previous premises, there was a couple that we've received that were in relation to the garden area and people being noisy in the garden area. Predominantly noise complaints go to environmental health, so we don't always have sight of those, but they also didn't submit a representation to this application.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rutino? No. No further questions. Fantastic. In that case, licensing, would you like to sum up? Have you got anything to sum up with?
Thank you very much. In making its decision, the subcommittee must also have regard to the Home Office statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. The Council's own statement of licensing policy, details of these may be found within the body of this report. The subcommittee must take into such of the following steps as is considered appropriate for the promotion of licensing objectives. Grant the license in accordance with the application, modify the conditions of operating schedule by altering or omitting or adding to them, exclude or restrict from the scope of the license any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, reject the whole of the application. The subcommittee may also grant the license subject to different conditions for different parts of the premises or different licensable activities. Members should note that the applicant or persons making representation have the right of appeal against the decision made by subcommittee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Since no objection was received from a responsible authority, I'd like to give the applicant the opportunity to sum up if there's anything you'd like to say in summing up your case.
Sorry, did you say the objection was received from?
No objection was received from a responsible authority. Normally we'd go to the responsible authority first, but since there isn't an objection, there's no need, so we're going straight to you.
I do not have any more comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In which case I will adjourn this meeting and ask, please, the licensing officers and yourselves to leave the room while we deliberate. And we will, as I say, we'll deliberate, and you'll be re-invited into this room in due course to hear the outcome of the application. Thank you very much. thank you very much for your patience. We have resolved to grant the license subject to the following conditions. Firstly, all of the conditions appended to the previous iteration of the license will continue to apply. Secondly, there will be a minimum of 2 door staff on site from 10 p.m. every evening. Thirdly, the outside facing doors at the premises will be shut from 9 p.m. onwards. Given the history of complaints and a few of the things that were raised during the hearing earlier on, we'd also like to issue a few recommendations and reminders. We'd like to remind you that as a matter of law, you must ensure that alcohol is only served to people who are also eating food at the premises. And we'd like to remind you that no music at all can be played in the backyard, as this is outdoors and not covered by the indoor license you've applied for. We'd like to recommend, if this isn't already the case, that you consider fitting a self-closing mechanism to the outside doors, which will reduce the potential for noise and disturbance to escape. Are there any questions? Okay.
Yeah, may I also add that you've got 21 days to appeal this decision from the date that you receive it?
In that case, thank you very much for your time and have a good evening. Thank you.